Cam asks, how do you start by deciphering an opponent's game plan in a short set? So I think it comes with, like, the way I think of this stuff. The way that I think of this stuff is basically like you have character matchup knowledge and player matchup knowledge, right? And you need to know where we got Hitachi. You need to know where one starts and the other stops, right? So like things like saying, Chip's 2H real good against Bedman. That is a character knowledge, right? And every time I play against a Bedman, one of the first things that I do is try and test how much they know about 2H. I played against Business Toaster, who I think is a East Coast Bedman player, in tournament at Frosty Faustings, and he did not know that 2H just stuffs a lot of Bedsman's shit and often opens up to counter hits. He did not adapt within the set, so I was just able to win by going in with 2H a lot, right? That's winning in the character matchup. I have an advantage. There's this tool I have that's really good. He doesn't know how to deal with it, and he can't adapt over the course of the set. Like, that is a check, right? But let's say he did adapt and just changed his movement up, right? Now we're talking... Now that puts us more in the realm of player matchup, right? How well do I know the player? And so you got to start by knowing the matchup as a character, right? This is something Machabo says when he talks about how, like, you don't get to play the player unless you play the character, right? And you need to know the character matchup, because if you don't, then you're not going to know where the player stops and the character starts, right? You might be like, oh man, he does this all the time. Well, maybe he does the thing he's doing because it's really good in that matchup, and not because it's like the super high risk read that he's just doing that he's doing because he doesn't know what else to do, right? So in a short set, you got to come into it with a lot of questions that you want to ask them, right? Hey, do you know about this? Hey, do you know about this? Hey, do you know about this other thing? How good are you at dealing with Jacko's, dealing with the bases? How much do you know about this mechanic, right? How much do you know about positioning and how that affects your character specifically when it comes to bases? How much do you know about, like, all the different tools that Jacko has and her normals, and how much do you know about the down forward hard slash and blah 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 blah, right? You want to get those questions answered soon, so that the rest of the time you can spend learning about the player, which is going to be stuff like, what do they do on round start? What do they do when they tech? How does their game plan change as the situation gets more stressful? Shit like that, right? Those are different kinds of questions, but the answer to those questions is going to be found by finding the difference between, like, what you do when you're playing the character matchup and what they specifically do. So it's hard, but it's the reason why we do this shit, right?